Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our horror movie-loving pals? Welcome to Season 4 of 3Haunted Podcast. Today we have wonderful special returning guest BJ Segura of Tales from the Drive-In Podcast, joining us to geek out on one of our favorite topics. You know it, horror movies.
But first, a word from our network sponsor.
Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more.
Welcome back, everybody. Like Ashley said, we have BJ back to talk horror with us. But first, we're going to talk all like this in ASMR, because Ashley hates it. Ha ha ha.
Whispers.
Okay, first of all, I don't mind the whispers. If we're going to tangent onto what I don't like in terms of ASMR, I don't like the eating.
Yeah, that's
The
gross. I don't
eating
like that.
sounds. Yeah, like the gulping, drinking, and eating sounds drive me insane. Anything else is fine, like the whispering and even some of the tapping or the I don't know. Anyways, the tangent, but the loud eating and gulping and nope, that's a no for me. So
I had to start this off that way. God, I missed you.
and now everybody knows what drives me crazy. So
Yes.
But we should never eat together. I tend to chew a little loudly, so I'll try
She just
not
wear
to
headphones.
sit by you.
But that's different in person. But like with ASMR, you've got your headphones on and
Right.
it's super loud and super exaggerated. And they've got their mic sensitivity up super high. How many times can I say super in one paragraph? But
Super.
it's so intense that's a little different when it's, part of the background. Like we're just eating, we're chatting, we're hanging out. But when it's like, let me put this in your eardrums. Nope.
Yeah.
That's when I say no, thank you. And screw you, Jonathan, for telling everybody.
Wahahahaha.
So that's my own personal horror. Come on, don't you guys have something like a pet peeve that gets to you?
Bad drivers.
Bad drivers.
Bad drivers, yeah. I don't know.
I guess people who talk about themselves too much. It just they bring up stuff, and I'm like, okay, like like out of the blue, like that's a little weird, out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
They're like, I know you didn't ask, but here's an hour-long segment about me. You're welcome.
Right. Just about yesterday. Let's go into 2 weeks ago. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'm amazing like that. You're lucky I shared my day with you. I'm just kidding. Just joking. So welcome, BJ. Welcome back.
Yes.
You joined us in season 1 with Ghost Stories. That was season 1, right?
Yes.
Now I'm mixing my seasons.
I know. We have so
You joined
many
us in
episodes.
season 1 with our annual Ghost Stories special, and you shared some of your spooky stories with us. My first question to you is, have you had any paranormal experiences since then?
Not really. I haven't had too many experiences. I've been to a few different places, like the botanical gardens, and that is supposed to be super haunted. And it was a busy day there, so you couldn't really tell if stuff was going on. I was doing an event there. I drive in Denver for a living. Like we do shuttles and all that kind of stuff. I sometimes drive around celebrities, which is pretty fun. But yeah, so we were just picking up and dropping off people, and I went to the bathroom, and I was the only one in there, and I was just like, "Ooh, this would be a prime time for some spooky, weird stuff." But no, nothing really. But I'd like to have some experience there because I hear it is pretty. Some stuff happens.
I love that place. I didn't know it was supposed to be haunted. I love the Denver Botanical Gardens. Like it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. But I mean, well, it's kind of like I think with the poltergeist thing, right? Where they had a bunch of bodies underneath and they didn't move them all, and so there's still bodies underneath the botanical gardens.
Yeah, in Cheeseman Park. Yeah,
Is that why the flowers grow so well there?
probably.
Well, think about it though. Like I feel like if you were to be buried somewhere other than a cemetery, a place where there's beautiful flowers all the time and there's people visiting you all the time, like it'd be kind of chill. It wouldn't be a place where you'd be probably pissed off. I don't know.
Just ghosts roaming around looking at the flowers like I could be upset, but no, this is cool. I'll stick around a while.
Yeah.
All right. Now you said you've been to a few places. Where else have you been other than the Denver Botanical Gardens? Botanical?
So there's a few different places up north in northern Colorado. There's a place in Berthoud. It's a really small town between Loveland and Longmont, Colorado. That it's just an old house. It's just been it's notorious for hauntings, and it's been that way since God. We heard about it in like the 90s because we used to live there, and then we moved to Greeley and all of that. But so that house, I again no real experiences there. The only one again it was just from season one, but it was in the house in Wash Park area where I had a feeling of a little kid standing at the top of the stairs, and it ended up being that the place they told me that it was haunted, and I guess it wasn't like a scary haunted. It was more of like a stuff will move around here and there, just kind of chill, but not mad. So that's probably it, honestly.
Okay.
Sounds like we need to have him come with us to a couple places.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere haunted without a like significantly large group. I need at least 5 people there. So
Five.
that'll be us three. We'll get the 2 girls who scare easily, and
Yes,
then we'll all just go
I
and see
agree.
what happens.
Yes.
And if anybody gets possessed, it's not me. No ghosts.
I'll do it. Why not? It could be fun.
Oh,
Oh,
I'll
great.
take it back.
Uh,
I'll do it.
I wasn't sure if and when I was going to experience anything moving back to Colorado. And I will say that the first week I was here, shit was already popping off. I'm like, are you serious? This is a thing?
really?
Like, really? Uh, it just
At your new place, or is it just around town, or?
no, it's a new place, and the house is only 4 years old, so it's just And now, granted, I live in an area where there did used to be mining camps nearby, so it's possible there is history in this area, even if the neighborhood is new, the area is not. And we moved in, and first week I'm here, I was kind of on edge the first few nights, and I usually am when I move into somewhere new, or if I'm sleeping somewhere new. But I remember just like I felt really extra on edge, like just something's off. And I had been to this house a few times, like when we came to look at it, when we bought it, all that stuff. And it felt fine. It felt really neutral. I got nothing from it. So being here, those first few days, I'm just like, something's off. Like it felt like someone was waiting in my hallway outside of my bedroom, kind of just timidly, peeking in, like, are you there? And I was just like, you gotta be shitting me. This can't, like, I felt nothing prior to this. What the heck? And I think it was that like Wednesday or Thursday of the first week I was here. I'm laying in bed and I have a second blanket kind of pushed towards my feet. And do you know that feeling when someone is asleep next to you and they turn and the cover pulls?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like someone kind of really had to like tug it. Even if it's a little, you feel the tug. So I'm facing like not internal to my bed, but facing the outside. And I feel the blanket at the bottom of my feet get tugged like someone had turned, but it wasn't on the inside of the bed. It was towards the outside. So like where there's
Mm,
nothing. And I'm like, nope, that's a no. I'm like, you are not pulling my blankets to get my attention. And really, that means you're standing like at the foot. So that freaked me out.
I do actually. Now that you brought that up, I do have a couple of experiences that have happened since I have talked to you guys last. So, and it's I don't know if it's a dream or if it is something that has happened. So it's a bed thing, just like yours, where I'd be sleeping in my bed, laying on my stomach, and then it would feel like somebody would just come in and join me. Somebody would just come in and lie next to me, and then, but what was weird is I felt almost like embarrassed because like the covers weren't covering me fully. Like I mean I wasn't naked, but like I was just in my in my underwear and my ass is out, and I'm like, oh, I should cover my ass up so this person laying next to me, doesn't like I don't know. It felt yeah, that was going on in my head when this weird entity or whatever laid next to me.
You're like, "Excuse me, I'm in my chonies, but you got in my bed, so this is your fault."
And it's happened multiple times. Like and it's never I never feel like uncomfortable. It's always just like a familiar, almost like yeah, just like a loved one or just somebody that's not there to like piss me off or there to scare me or anything like that. It's just like a snuggle buddy kind of thing. And
A snuggle
but
spirit.
something, it's yeah, that's the closest thing I could say what it is. And yeah, I just have to cover myself up a little bit, and then we're good.
Why? They got in your bed. I feel like you knew what you were getting into when you got in my bed, so
Right? You saw me in my underwear.
Fair.
You know, it's all right.
yeah, I feel like a lot. I noticed a lot of activity, kind of that presence was in my house that week, but after that week passed, it just went away again. So I don't know if there was just something going on, like in the in the atmosphere in the area during that week, that specific week, but it was just like, whew, this is not going to be good if this is a full time thing. Don't pull up my covers.
Yeah,
You don't think it was Grampy?
Grampy Ghost did not come with
Or-
us. Grampy Ghost knows better than to be in my
That's
bedroom.
true. That's
So
true.
we had a conversation about that. You don't come in my room. And then, for me, I'm a night owl. So I was actually fully awake when that happened. I was reading on my phone. And so I felt it before that happened. I could feel like the presence kind of near the room and then in the room. And then all of a sudden I felt the cover and I'm like, son of a bitch, you and I are going to have a talk, whoever you are. Like, this is no. And there are rules, and the rules are you don't come in my bedroom. You don't go in the kids' rooms. You don't go in my room. Like, that's a thing. And so
and it couldn't have been an animal. You don't have any like dogs or anything that would pull on the covers.
I do have two dogs, but they sleep in their own little kennels. So that wouldn't have
Oh,
been
okay.
a puppy thing or a doggy thing.
Yeah, that was my first thought, but
So
then I knew that they slept in kennels, so I was like, nope.
yeah. Yeah, they have their own little comfort places. So they have their kennels that they sleep in. So nope.
Ghost dog.
They could have been a ghost dog. There was a little Orby video caught. I had a had a ring camera facing inside of the house before we moved here. Just and that wasn't for ghost things. That was just to make sure because the house we bought it before we moved here and it was sitting here for a few months. And so I'm like, I don't want anything, stolen, broken, or whatever from the house. So I had a ring camera facing the living room. And just one night out of all the nights, there was like an orb thing that came down from the top of the stairs. And when I sent it to a friend of mine who he's a psychic, I was like, I'm curious, do you get anything from this? Because it could be anything. For me, I try to logic it. I'm like, is it a bug? What is it? And he actually told me it's an orb, but it's an orb of a dog. There's a dog spirit. And I'm like, what? That's what he said. He's just like, I get a big dog, like a Doberman or something big, like a Great Dane. And I'm like, no, I've never had one of those. So if it's that, that's from a previous owner because never had one of those. So
That's super cool. The orb thing. I have another situation.
tell
All
me.
these things are coming to me now. So I have a cousin who same ring light, right, or the ring
The camera,
cameras, right?
yeah.
So same thing, but it was exterior, so it's facing out, and there's orbs, and you can see them from a distance. Like there's trees out in the background, maybe like 200 feet away, and there's like a group of orbs, like 7 or 8 of them that just kind of float together like they're connected, and then they come right towards the ring and then up and away from it. And yeah, it's weird. And so not really sure what that's about.
So the same guy, he had been a guest on our season 3. Do you remember Aaron, John? Aaron Fowler,
Aaron Fowler.
psychic
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
shaman?
yeah.
Yeah. So he had said something which so ironic. Like I'm telling you, the synchronicity was a little scary. The same day that the ring went off, I had clipped that morning. So before I knew that had been on the ring, I had clipped for our social media section from his episode that was talking about orbs and saying that orbs are just a part of the soul of the greater whole. So we only see just a part of it. And that's what the orb is. And um the irony is that like an hour later I find that on the ring camera and I'm like, what? Orbs and I can't deal with this. That's too much.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so what would a group of orbs be then if there's like 6 or 7 of them
Group of
flying in?
souls? A flock of souls?
A litter.
Flock of dead birds?
A flock of dead birds. I don't know. I guess for me, because I'm one of those people that my mind goes everywhere. It's like, was it, do you have a cluster? Like, is it a spider web thing being, popping up on that, reflecting a bunch of light? Or historically, where is it happening? Was there something where there were groups of people like at that same time and place where something maybe happened? I don't know. Like, that's really interesting. I would like ask that. Where was it?
And are orbs, is that a spirit thing? Because when I first thought about it, I hadn't thought of it as a spirit thing. When you first said, "Have you had any paranormal experiences?" I had first thought of it as like aliens. Like, who knows, right? That's where my mind went first. It's like, I don't know. I guess it could be spirits. It could. I don't know if it could be aliens, but
I guess it depends who you ask, because some people do believe orbs are types of alien life form, and some people believe that orbs are parts of a soul, and some are like it's a whole ghost. I don't.
And I'm like, it's dust for the most part.
It's just
So, yeah.
I'm really really cautious when it comes to orbs because of the fact that oftentimes it is dust or it is
Or a
flies or
bug.
moths
Yeah,
or.
something.
But that doesn't mean that's every orb. Like, because there are some weird orb patterns out there that you see videos of that are, it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that really does not make sense in terms of flies, moths, whatever. Like you said, you see 7 orbs all together clustering somewhere. Flies don't behave that way. Moths don't behave that way. So
mhm.
that's like, maybe it's a bug, but probably not if it's that many.
I'll have to send you the video of it. But it looks like they're all connected, like on a line or a wire or
Hmm.
something, and then the light's trailing from it. Like there's light trailing from it
Oh, that's
on from
weird.
each, and and it comes from far away because you can see it coming. Like it appears out of nowhere, and then it just kind of floats and comes towards you, and it's just like, that's kind of weird. Because yeah, you think about those things. Is it a fly? Is it insects? Is it what are they called? Like
Mhm.
fireflies? Like any of that? And you're just like, no, that doesn't look anything like anything I've ever seen before. So, but yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and like I didn't even think about it until you said it, but like maybe there is something to the potential aliens and stuff like that because we want to make everything the same answer, right? Like orbs are this, but maybe orbs are all of it because all it really is light that we're capturing and it's light from something, but I'm trying to think of just like different things can present as something similar, but they're still all unique things. And so maybe it is aliens, maybe it is ghosts, maybe it is moths and flies, maybe it's all of them, not just one. So who knows? Ooh.
That and the size of it too. That's the other thing. It's like if it's a big orb, I tend to think more alien. If
Mhm.
it's a small orb, I tend to yeah, that's where when you watch those shows, it's like, oh yeah, it's a soul.
It actually reminds me, I've been watching The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch because I fucking love that show. And
I watch
season
it too.
4, they just finished, but they've seen actual orbs out in like the field out there, and they've been big ones, and they've been thinking that maybe those are actually aliens as well. So I kind of like the idea of like the bigger ones being more alien-ish, and they could still be spirits. I mean, they could be spirits of aliens for all we know. But like, yeah, I think it's trippy, and it's like one not the first time that I've heard it be, brought up as aliens. I was like, oh yeah, that clicked in my head. So it was pretty cool.
Now, when you say they've seen it, is it with their naked eye or like on camera recorded?
No, they've seen it on camera. They
Okay.
were doing experiments, and all of a sudden there was this big blob, this orb that they saw just kind of go and float and then disappear. So yeah,
Like a jellyfish?
kind of, but not really. It was pretty big,
Ooh, I've seen one of those.
like a jellyfish blob.
Yeah, I was just getting gas late at night one night, and it looked like a plastic bag, flying in the wind. Like that's what it looked like, but it was in the middle of the night, and it was glowing different colors. And so I was like that because I kept looking at it, and I'm like, that's not a bag. Like at first it would look like a bag, but then when it starts changing colors and lights coming from it, I'm like, I don't think that looks like a King Super's bag to me. I don't know.
That sounds like what Michael Modest had been talking about when he was playing hide and seek. Remember, he said he saw something that it felt like it was emanating light versus
Yeah.
reflecting light. It was actually putting light out.
Yes.
That's ooh.
I always think of what is that American? What is that show? Or that movie with the floating bag?
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're American Beauty.
American Beauty.
That was a really good movie, but it was
Yes.
fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, then speaking of movies, we're gonna segue over. uh, what is your favorite horror movie? We always gotta go in. Or if you want, you can go top five. Let's geek out.
Okay. So I am very much in the camp of Ashley when it comes to horror movies and favorites. Lost Boys being number one for sure, for all of so many reasons. Do you want me to just rattle them off? Or
I just want to say that for those that can't see me, I was just doing the biggest happy dance because BJ and I we got that Lost Boys love. So he was showing me um, his record that's been signed from the Lost Boys movie by Tim Capello, and I was geeking out prior to this recording. So yeah, sorry, keep going.
yes, the music, the characters, all of it. It's so good, and it is my comfort movie. Whenever I'm feeling bad or whatever, like I'll throw it on, and for me, it never gets old. Like it's one of those. It is timeless, and it never. I've never felt like, man, they really missed an opportunity here or no, anything like that. So that one, Aliens. Aliens, I know it's not necessarily a horror movie, but
It is a horror.
yeah.
I will battle
Yeah.
to like the death on that one. Aliens is a
I'm with
horror.
Ashley on that one.
Okay. Well, I'm glad because I feel the same way. I also have behind me, and we'll talk about the other one in a minute. But yeah, Aliens and Alien, both of them, obviously. But I think for an ending, Aliens is maybe my favorite ending of any movie I've ever watched.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just that fight scene at the end is just
Yeah,
it's like Eddie, it's everything you wanted that you didn't know you wanted.
yeah.
Gave it to you, and you were there for it, and you're just like, thank you, please, let's do this. And Sigourney Weaver, like she was the best female action star I think ever for me, for my money. Like the way she did it, like in the way they wrote her in those movies, just it was just so good.
She's a perfect casting.
Mm.
I couldn't see anybody else in that role other than Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, she was amazing, and she still is. I mean, she does all kinds of stuff still. It's crazy. Let's see. Man, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3. I have to put those together just because they are equally awesome in my book.
Absolutely.
I did watch 4 last night. I wanted to like it. I mean, I like it. I like all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but it just doesn't measure up for me because they didn't put Patricia Arquette in there. She didn't she they did couldn't get her for that fourth movie, and I think it
Yeah.
would have changed the movie a little bit more.
Yeah, Dream Warriors all the way. I'm with you. Like
Yeah.
that still I know you and I have talked about that. It's just that is such a powerful concept. And for anybody that lucid dreams or sleep paralysis or any of that, like that movie just hits so hard. I love it. Love, love, love it.
And it has my favorite line in it. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a good one. That's a
Yes.
yeah, that is a classic for sure. All of those all of those scenes, all the kills, like they're just so they were done so well. I had thought of doing a cosplay, with the marionette having like the maybe Freddy above me
That would
in
be
like cardboard or
badass.
something, and then just having it connected to wires and then just walking
Oh,
around with it.
hell yeah.
So
Okay,
I might
now that you said that, you have to do
Right?
that. Like, I need to see
Halloween.
this.
Yeah, I might do that.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, so that one's good. Oh god, there's so many things about those movies. Well, Killer Clowns. I'm wearing the shirt. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm not a big clown person, but just the way it was made, the music with it, the just the design of the clowns are super creepy. Like it was very slapstick, like comedy. It felt like like the Three Stooges in parts of it, and but it was fun, and acting aside, whatever. But just the kills were very memorable, and getting caught in a cotton candy cocoon. That's how they put you away. Like that's fun. Or the popcorn gun. They started selling that actually.
I saw
I
that.
saw that online. Yeah,
But it was absolutely 80s, a very spot on 80s
Right?
movie, but it was so fun. Like the bright colors, the over the top campiness made it just like I don't know. It's fantastic. And it's its own thing. Like you can't remake or redo that or capture that again. Like Killer Clowns is just its own standalone vibe.
They are making a video game for.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
No, I know, but that it looks fun. And my 4-year-old nephew actually loves. Well, he's 5 now. The movie. He loves the movie. He's watched it and he loves it.
that's
He's
he's 4 and that's awesome.
watched
Yeah,
it?
he's
Oh
5.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
we start him early in my family.
That's amazing, actually. I have a 6-year-old nephew who's kind of similar. But my sister's very strict. I'm trying to get them to have him watch stuff, but he for he's very much into Halloween. Like for
Nice.
Christmas, my mom asked him like, "What do you want for Christmas?" He's like, "Halloween decorations."
That's the cutest kid.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is a kid after my own heart. So, since you love killer clowns and you're about conventions and stuff like that, did you know that during like this month, they're actually releasing the Killer Clowns Funko Pop? And it's the Fatso clown, and he's got the killer blaster. I can't even say it. Killer clown blaster, and like a box of hearts. But yeah,
that's awesome.
pre-order that.
See,
Yes.
I need to buy more stuff. It is nice to have that kind of stuff. Like I can see John has all kinds of Scream stuff in the back. That's pretty awesome. And yeah, the picture with all of the people, which will probably never happen again, right? Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, they're still doing cons, but like, yeah. I mean, I even have freaking Henry Winkler in there.
That's cool.
Obviously he was the principal. He signed the Funko Pop as well, and so yeah.
All right, so then you have Killer Clowns is number 4. Do you have a fifth?
Oh God, I can't just put one.
It's
There's
hard.
just so many.
Okay, we'll put Fright Night in there.
Yes.
Woo!
Okay. Fright Night, yes. Yes.
All of
Yes.
Ashley's favorites.
Because I was like, I'm like, I don't know if I could put two vampire ones because obviously
You
I
can
want
do whatever. It is your list, sir.
You know, my top 3 are The Lost Boys, Fright Night, Bram Stoker's Dracula. You can absolutely put vampire across the
You can
board.
be all there. Yep.
You just do it on up. That's totally fine.
oh god, okay. So this one that I think so I think for me, like I'm very much into the horror, but I'm also into the sci-fi combo of it. And
Mhm.
there's two movies that come to mind that just did it for me. And every time I watch it, I'm like, man, it hits me. It hits me hard. The Fly,
Okay. Yeah.
and RoboCop. like both of those movies. Yeah,
I wasn't expecting RoboCop.
RoboCop's great.
Yeah,
Like
It
it
is. No
is. You just
no judgment on
yeah.
that.
You
I just wasn't expecting that.
don't hear a lot about RoboCop.
Yeah.
it's just for me just the grittiness of it. Like, and it's very much post. it's the times, it's very relevant nowadays with the way corporations are running the world, and all of that. It was very ahead of its time, and just the gore, the just how, yeah, it was just very, very bloody, more bloody than you would expect from just a sci-fi film.
Right.
So that's why I was like, man, it definitely borders that. It's action, sci-fi action, but I mean there are elements of horror in it as well.
It definitely crossed over on the line of kind of gruesome. How did you feel about Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight?
So yes, so yes, that one's up there too. I actually have been watching that a lot the past couple of years. Like me and my brother will just sit down and watch it, and like I love. There's so many great scenes in that movie. I love it. His Billy Zane, right? He's making cocktails, and the dudes just. I love that music. The music that's playing. You know,
Uncle Willie?
yeah, Uncle Willie just hanging out, and he has, Billy Zane has his glasses on, his sunglasses on, and they're having a good old time, and yeah, the whole vibe of that movie is amazing. It's just fun. I mean, it's horror and it's scary kind of, but I think for me it's more, it's just like fun. It's just good fun, and yeah, you get to see just all kinds of great practical effects from it. Um, yeah, that one's amazing. That is up there too. I mean, here's the problem. There's just so many good ones. It's like apples and oranges. It's hard to compare because do you compare directors? Do you compare music? Those are the like more, I think you can narrow it down to a little bit more, because movies, I mean, what's if you want to do it that way, you could say, "Oh, what's your favorite ghost movie? What's your favorite clown movie? What's your favorite vampire movie?" Right? Like, what's your favorite werewolf movie? If you break it down like that, I think it's maybe a little bit easier, just because of every like, even I'll even throw in Little Shop of Horrors, honorable mention. Like, I love that movie. Like, that's not even scary movie, right? It's a musical, but like, it's just so much fun, and there is blood and stuff in it, but just the actors in it, like, freaking Rick Moranis, John Candy is in that one, right? Like Steve Martin, like, oh, and even the cameo with Bill Murray, right? Like, that movie, it's fun.
You could definitely break it down by genre to get favorites, but I think that we all have our go-tos. The ones, like you said, where it's like, if I'm gonna sit down and just like, this is my default, this is what I just feel like watching, there's definitely a top list there. And I find for me, I notice a pattern of like sexy horror where there's like terror, but there's also this like undertone of like the smoky sexiness, like with the
Hellraiser.
Lost Boys. Like Lost Boys has that sexy vibe, right? Hellraiser definitely has, oh my god, the sexy vibe. Um, but also Demon Knight. Like, come on, Billy Zane. He's the only one that I feel like that can, say, hear me out. Wait, don't scream. Hear what I gotta say, and then scream and sound completely like, yes, yes, whatever you said, yes.
Right Nine.
Fright Night, sexy, right? Like he's eating an apple, and yet it's like, ooh, that's kind of spicy. Um, it just there are elements of sexiness and comedy and terror that they were able to interlace into all of these movies to really get us, right? Like they had a mixture, like this little horror cocktail that in the 80s they really nailed. They nailed that so well. Don't know where that's gone.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
it's I think a lot of it nowadays, it's more about the spectacle. It's more about, what can we think of that's gonna visually, stimulate people, rather than, I don't know. I don't think, I would say the characters aren't. Yeah, like you said, it's not as a big of a thing anymore, really. I mean, because you look at movies like, I don't know, even like Hereditary. Like, I like Hereditary, but I'm not like, man, who's my favorite character in Hereditary, right? It's not like that. You don't feel that way about characters in modern horror stuff, at least for me.
I feel it's more adrenaline now. It's more of like how much can we keep their adrenaline up and kind of yo-yo them up and down. So at the end they're like, "Woo, what a ride!" versus, "Hey, oh my gosh, I loved this character and those quotes and that." You know what I mean? It kind of steered away from that long-term watch. Like I want to go back and watch that and more in the moment roller coaster. So at least to me, I don't
And,
know.
and speaking of famous characters, I left out one movie that I have to put in there because it is a movie I watch all the time. Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness is one of my favorite movies of all time, right? Like just the dialogue alone, Ash is just so good in that, or just his character, or, yeah, Ash the character is amazing in it. The
You made me.
Yeah, I watched the documentary on it. It's so great. Just that scene where the all the blood flies out, right? Like they only did that like one time because well, one, it's hard to do, but they didn't have they were worried because the they didn't have a lot of second costumes for everybody. So if they got all bloody, they couldn't do it again. They literally just had the one. And so when it went up, the blood actually the wind took it away from all the people, so they were able to just keep it that way. So
No, one shot.
right, which, yeah, I, as a filmmaker, like I like to watch movies, and now, so as a filmmaker, I love to go back and rewatch these movies and look at all the technical aspects of it, because I think in the 80s they worked their asses off, one, and the practical effects just gave it so much more. And it just, I don't know, I have a lot more respect for those films than, I mean, than the films of today. I mean, for on-set stuff. I mean, I get like a lot of the stuff now. You go into studios, you go into CGI and the computer room and all that kind of stuff, and you do all that. But it's a little different than, and I don't necessarily like that aspect of it, because it does take away, right? Like if you're not talking to an actual person in a costume, there's just a loss of something there that, I don't know.
There's something that connects with the energies between the 2 actors
Yeah.
when you have 2 people in the same room. You're acting with somebody versus acting to something, and so it definitely you feel that. There is a difference.
I have a question for you guys, if I can ask you a question.
Absolutely.
Is as far as like horror movie endings, is there a horror movie ending that you either loved or hated? Like maybe there's one movie that you're like, "Oh man, that was the best horror movie ending," or "That was the worst horror movie ending I've ever seen."
Best is always gonna be The Lost Boys for me. Grandpa's all the damn vampires and the light just slowly closing on all of them with, like, the shell-shocked look on their face. Just phenomenal ending to that awesome movie. Worst ending is actually from a movie that probably a lot of people haven't seen, and it's called Grave Dancers. Phenomenal movie. The concept is amazing. The buildup is just fucking phenomenal. This idea if you dance on a grave, you take those spirits home with you and they haunt you.
Mhm.
And these people happen to get drunk, dance on graves, happen to be in the, like, what's the word? Not unmentionable, but kinda like the abominations where really evil people were buried in the cemetery, so now they have, like, 3 very evil ghosts home haunting each person. Just great. The buildup was so great, but then I don't know if they ran out of time or budget or what, but at the end, there's, like, this cloud ghost chasing them, and it looks awful, awful CGI, and even the ghosts themselves, when they showed them, it's like, "Ooh, those are kinda like, well done, like, okay, that's fun, that's scary." And then when that cloud ghost thing at the end was happening, I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, are you serious? This entire movie was beautiful, and especially on a low budget, what they were able to produce, I'm like, "Really? Just phenomenal, and then you end on this? This is bullshit."
This makes you mad.
Yeah, because everything up until the last probably like 5 minutes was just beautifully done, well executed, well acted, just great. And then that. I'm like, just bullshit. Sorry.
No,
Anyways,
I like it. I like it. That's
great
what I want.
dancers.
I agree with you on that one.
John, do you have a couple?
Um, I don't know. Like one of my, I guess, favorite endings is a movie that not a lot of people have seen, and Ashley's is one of them. I will bring it up all the time because I do watch it. It's one of my comfort horror movies. It's also a musical, Anna and the Apocalypse.
Okay.
Absolutely love it. It's a Christmas zombie musical, which is fucking phenomenal. Love it. Gotta watch it. And the ending, it fits the movie, and it's like, okay, cool. At least the American version of the ending, it fits it perfectly. So there's like two or three different cuts of it, but yeah.
That's not that old, right? That's not, or how long?
2018.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing a preview for it and just like, what the hell is this? And I was like, I have to see this. Like, I have to just to see what the hell it is. And it was just one of those. I was like, all right, I love this movie. So far as the worst, shoot, I don't know. There's a lot of sucky endings to movies. House on Haunted Hill, I guess, like the remake version. Yeah, that one was kind of eh.
You didn't like
The ending of it, no,
the TV series?
no. The movie, the remake, the like '99 version of it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
Ali Larter,
yeah.
right?
Ali Larter and all of them,
Okay.
Famke
Yeah.
Janssen and all that. Yeah, the ending was kind of eh for me. Like it was creepy and scary the whole time, and then it's like this kind of sucks, but whatever.
That's kind of like why I feel like when the movies do really well and then at the end it's awful. I'm like, did you just run out of budget? Because
Right.
everything else was so spectacular. Like, what happened here?
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
would say a lot of times that happens. I watched the documentary on Nightmare on Elm Street, and that was a theme with a lot of those movies. I was like, oh no, like you got
Oh
like
no.
why? Yeah, it's like yeah, we ran out of budget, or we ran out of that we didn't have an ending, that kind of thing. It's like oh god, like you, like you guys are making these movies, and you don't have an ending in mind. Like what's going on here? Like I don't know. Which for me, it's like it kind of gives me comfort because as a filmmaker, you know, you want to have an ending, you want to have all this stuff, and then if you see these successful films that do so well, and they were in it worse than you because there's so much more money involved with them, and yeah, and they're still just, but they made it work. You know, it helps it pays when you have like people who are quick on their feet and able to like hey well let's think quickly about this and make a decision and then it works out sometimes it doesn't.
Like, guys, we're there. We have to have an ending tomorrow. We thought we had longer than we did, but we shoot tomorrow.
Right.
So,
They're like, all right,
oh
let's
my
get drunk and
gosh,
come up with ideas. Let's go.
let's get drunk.
I know it's hard though sometimes because like when I try to back when I used to write, I would have an ending or I would have a beginning, and sometimes I wouldn't have a middle and or whatever. I would have parts of it, but I would never have the whole thing, and then it would eventually come to me like you said. Okay, I gotta have this done, but yeah, it's hard to sometimes to come up with an ending.
Now, do you have like a guilty pleasure film series of movies that you like to watch that you're like, I know this is bad, but I can't help but love it?
Good. I mean
So for me, it's Children of the Corn movies. Like they're so awful, but I love them, each and every one of them. And every person that's ever watched it, they drive by cornfields, and even though the movies are stupid, you're like, "Are there killer children in there?"
I think so. I actually watched it last night. I don't know, it's not super well known, or maybe it is, I just don't talk to enough people, I guess. But The Gate,
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Dorff's like
Mhm.
first film, right? He's 14 years old, kind of thing. Like for me, that one's fun. I'll watch that one here and there, just because you know it's these kids. They're playing around with the hole in the you know that was there from a tree, and you know they had this geode, and then this kid has this album that he plays, and then this it's not an etch a sketch, it's what are those things, it's like a paper, you like draw on it and
And
then
then
you
you
lift
rip
it
it
up
up, yeah, and then it like
and
erases
then
like
it
the magnet.
disappears
Yeah,
again.
I don't remember what they're
Yeah, you
called,
remember
but
those things?
yeah.
But those were pretty cool, but it had like Latin on it just and then he read the Latin, and then it summons the demons, and then these little guys come out, and that was I loved that the creepy guys that came out of there. That was a movie where they used the forced perspective,
Hmm.
and so they're little, but they're actually big guys or regular sized people in these suits. But in the movie, that they just look like little gremlin kind of guys. Which so I think that one's fun.
I like that one. It was a fun one.
Yeah.
It's like Goonies meets Trolls.
Yeah.
Right, right. And but that one and that because I liked all the I would say Critters is up there for me. Critters the franchise for sure. But that one, I mean, for me it's the first two that I'm really big on. Um just because obviously the sci-fi side of me really kicks in with that and the horror. I just love the way they talk. They'll have little subtitles when the critters talk shit about stuff or whatever. It's just random one-liners. You're just like, oh, that was kind of random. It's like these guys have attitude, and they don't take shit from anybody. Uh,
Nor should they.
right.
I also like all the From Dusk Till Dawns. I know a lot of people think anything past one sucks, but I enjoyed them for what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still need to watch the last couple.
You sure do. You need to watch the third one, The Hangman's Daughter.
Oh yeah, that was the third
I
one.
will. Yeah, that I there's a lot I need to watch. I mean, I feel like that's a theme that I've with a lot of people that are into horror, like that there's so much to watch that you haven't seen everything. Even if you say that you're a horror fan, like obviously I do a horror podcast as well, but there's so much out there that I haven't seen, and it's crazy that when you talk to people, they're the same way. That it's just endless amounts of content, right? The other franchise I like, Tremors.
Yes, I love
Yes,
Tremors.
we love Tremors.
Tremors. I actually got to drive Reba McEntire around, and
I thought you were going to say Bert,
Bert.
the guy who plays Bert. I love Bert. He
Well,
is
Bert,
my
I mean, it
favorite.
was his wife. She left him,
Yes?
but poor guy. But yeah, she's not big into. I asked her. I was like, "Do you rather work in TV or movies?" She's like, "Absolutely TV." Because I guess you're on a schedule, you go to the same spot place every day. Movies are a lot more difficult because you have all these unexpected things that happen. But yeah, the Tremors franchise, Kevin Bacon. I honestly like the first two are probably my favorite, and that's usually how I guess most movies franchises go. The first two, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is an exception. Second Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't know what happened with that one.
I also enjoyed New Nightmare, and that was, significantly down the line. So,
Yes, that was a good one. Yeah.
I mean, it's like different directors, right? I mean, Wes Craven. That's the reason why you come back for that one, right?
yeah.
So
Oh, Wes. So, did you guys watch Day Shift yet with Jamie Foxx and Snoop
I've
Dogg?
seen parts of it.
Okay, so I watched the whole thing and I loved it. I fucking loved it because I think it plays to the my generation and up. So, in terms of music, in terms of stylization, it very much knows how to hit the 30 plus demographic. And I loved the movie. I realized while watching it, I'm like, holy cow, this is one big love note to a fuck ton of vampire movies out there. References to From Dusk Till Dawn Part 3 when they're in the tunnels. I don't want to give too much away, but very much reminiscent of them going through the tunnels and to the ancient ruins type area. You had all sorts of really fun references. But the other thing we noticed is that someone who works on John Wick was also working on Day Shift because some of the location setups, it was like, this is, if I didn't swear like I was watching a vampire movie, I would swear we're in the Continental right now and there's like an assassination hit about to be put on. Uh, but it was so good. And I really enjoyed it. I would say it's like John Wick meets Vampire Hunters. And I loved it. But the only thing that pissed me off, I don't mind love notes. And I know I'll probably get over it and be like, I love this at some point. Even that was we have the Lost Boys, and Grandpa's at the end. The only thing I can never stomach about living in Santa Carla is all the damn vampires. So at the end of this movie, and it's not really a spoiler, Snoop sits there and says, "One thing I love about Los Angeles is all the damn vampires." And I'm like, no, motherfucker. That is not your line. No.
Yeah, I mean, Snoop saying that. I mean, it's Snoop though. I guess I don't know.
But it's like, no, no, any other way to put a nod to the Lost Boys. But did you really have to take it and twist the line? I guess I don't mind that it's the opposite of what Grandpa was saying, but still, I'm like, really, really, motherfucker. But I was also proud of my kids because he started saying that, and then when he said that, Emma was like, "All the damn vampires," because she knows the Lost Boys. I was like, "I'm okay. You said damn because that was part of the Lost Boys."
Is how old is she?
She's 12, almost 13 now.
Okay, so she's probably seen most.
She's actually, I'm really proud. She's actually watching more and more horror. She loved chapter one of the new It. So
No.
she hasn't seen chapter two yet with the adults, but she did see the one, chapter one with the kids, loved it. She loves Pennywise now. I don't know if I should be concerned. Um, but we also recently watched the Candyman reboot, and she did fine with that. What
Really?
Yeah, but it's not the first one. The kills and stuff were more gruesome in the original. So I started her with this one to see how she would do. She was not even phased by it. So I'm like, okay, you could probably handle the originals. Yeah, so I've been starting to do more and more movies with her to gauge her level of, and the fact she can even tolerate it. These, I'm like, there's hope. In a few years, you're going to be I'm going to be showing her Martyrs. I'm just kidding. John's face.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I might. Other than that, though, other than the little Lost Boys bite, get it? That was punny. Um, it was a really awesome movie. I do hope they make a part two because Jamie Foxx sold it as a vampire killer and or hunter, and the world that they created was really cool. And I love, and it's not really a spoiler, the main vampire in this one is a Latina. That's right, big boss. I'm like, get him, girl.
I do. I gotta say, like I am with Ashley with the vampire stuff. I feel like now that I think about it, I like far more vampire movies than I do most other things because I keep going down the list of different things, and I'm like, man, I love that one too. There's just so many things, like even like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like TV and the movie, right? Like
Yes.
with we just lost Pee Wee Herman, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, and he was a big vampire in that one, in the original movie, and he actually reprised his role in What We Do in the Shadows.
I loved that so much.
Yeah, like
That was
they
awesome.
dressed him up. He
Yes.
looked exactly the same
Yeah.
too. I was like, yes, I can't believe they did this, and they got him, and it was everything. It was so
Being on the vampire council.
yeah,
Yes.
because I love that because they tried to bring in right. It's all one universe, so they tried to bring in all the vampires they could.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes and on the laptop and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Paul Rubens. And he had the most iconic, hilarious vampire death in any of the vampire movies. Like any of the vampire movies, his was the funniest death. Like
Yes.
everybody remembers, ooh, oh.
Stops to look
He
to make
looks
sure
at
she's
he
paying
looks at
attention,
her.
and they're like, oh, oh.
Starts kicking the wall. Looks at her. Like, is she watching?
Yes.
Such an iconic death. I loved it. And with you, the vampire genre tends to have more iconic, in my opinion, characters, storylines, but also just like quotable. I know I always go back to the quotable, but that's to me like fun inside jokes with horror fans, right? You could see each other and throw a quote out there from a movie and connect and laugh, right? It's a connector. It's a way to relate to somebody, and I love it. It's like a social aspect. The more quotable the movie, the more you can kind of laugh with someone about it. Kind of like all the damn vampires.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves, right? Or we're werewolves, not swearwolves.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves. And I still use swearwolf. I'm a swearwolf. Um, What would be your favorite quote from The Lost Boys?
I mean, either Grandpa or they're only noodles, Michael.
They're only noodles, Michael. I know. I love that. I'm going to get a tattoo that says that or something. People are like, really? You have that as a tattoo? I sure do. Or Death by Stereo. I love Death by
Death
Stereo.
by stereo.
Yes.
You miss sucker only once, pal. I love it. Every part of the movie. Every part. Love it.
Or the mom. Even the mom had some great lines when she says, she's like, "What? Something I wouldn't understand, right? Because it's like you wouldn't, right? You wouldn't believe me. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
just talking about being a teenager, but it's not talking about being a teenager. Something you wouldn't understand. It's like, yeah, I'm a vampire. Like, let's have that conversation.
I mean, could you imagine that conversation? Like, just walking in, what's going on, baby? I'm a vampire mom. What? Well, see, what happened was there was this girl, and I really liked her. I drank some blood. Now we're here. We had awesome vampire sex. Now my hands healed because the dog bit me because I was going to eat Sam. Like, what?
Well, see, and that's where Grandpa's like, "Yep, I know."
Yup. Just yup.
He'd be like, "Yep, yep," because I mean, that's the one thing that I always wanted, and I didn't see the sequels, but I wanted to see a prequel of Grandpa's life, right?
Right.
Because he knows about the vampires, right? Like that would have been fun. I don't know.
I mean, sequels are fan fiction, in my opinion, but I would have been curious to your point what Grandpa's story like. Because if we're talking sequels and comics, Grandpa was a half vampire. He was the widow Johnson was a master vampire, and he was a half vampire with her, according to comics and sequels. Now, fucking fan fiction. But, it makes you wonder what was in Grandpa's root beer. But it would have been cool to see a Grandpa's origin story. And maybe one day, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. That's one thing we talked about on my podcast is the sequels. If you could would you want to have a sequel for or a prequel to some iconic movies, because it's hard if you can't get all of the actors back. I mean, because sometimes obviously the actors don't make it because they die in the movie. But I think with the Lost Boys, it's just there were so many good characters that to not have all of them there because they all added something that you just love. And that's for most sequels. I think there's just so many. It's very rare for a movie to have a sequel where there's only one or two characters from the previous that make the movie even more successful.
Unless it's a bridge. So I'm going to speak blasphemy here. I think for the Lost Boys, those characters were so iconic. Like most of them, leave them alone. Let them be what they were in that movie. But if we were to take Grandpa and do, like you said, an origin story, and the Widow Johnson, we never saw her. So we could totally do something with the Widow Johnson and introduce her as a character and maybe do a side storyline, right? Where there are other vampires and maybe not Santa Carla, maybe San Francisco, I don't know, somewhere else, and kind of bridge over that way. And then Grandpa ends with, you know what, fuck this, I'm moving to Santa Carla. And that, then okay, I know where his story goes because we know what happened in Santa Carla, but now we've got something else built in a different city that we can explore, if
I,
that makes sense.
I would be 100% on board with something like that. I think that would be the best way to do it
Mhm.
because yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we talked about this before, and I had thought about it since we talked because I talked about Corey Feldman, right? And I think he was he the only other standover or from the other movies? There was a couple others.
So Corey Haim had been in the second one, and then Jameson Newlander had also been at the end of the second one, I believe, and part of the third.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, all spoiler alert, I don't care. Those movies are so old. He was turned into a vampire. So to me, I'm like, you don't fuck with the Frog Brothers like that. Like I said, fan fiction. Don't touch the Frog Brothers. Don't like all that stuff. But because I think didn't they turn Corey Haim into one in part two as well, John?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I think so. I think they did, and I'm just like, really, y'all? No, just no.
It's hard when movies, especially horror movies, will do that, right? They build you up the whole movie, and then they survive, and then the next movie they just kill them immediately, right? Aliens, and then Alien 3, that was a big gut punch for me. And that's, I mean, I still like Alien 3, but like it just makes me so mad that they did that because of what characters that you loved. I mean, maybe that's, I mean, obviously that's what they were going for, but the Nightmare on Elm Street as well did that with Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, right? It's like, Kincaid, really? Like right away, right? The Dream Warriors, like they just were like, nope, see you later. Like that's we're starting new.
I think when they switch writers is where you risk that, because what the original world the writer created isn't what they intended with their characters. And that happens when you get new writers to continue on series. And that's why I call it fan fiction, because it's their world they created. And so to have someone come in and take over the helm and be like, well, I'm going to change it up, then it's like, that's not really, that wasn't your journey. So to me, I'm like, fan fiction. And maybe that's me discrediting awesome writers, but whatever.
I think you're right. I think, especially with the Nightmare on Elm Street, just because it's fresh in my mind, 4, Freddy felt very different than 3. I didn't enjoy the music. I wanted to, but I felt I love the music so much from the third and the first one. This one, it just felt very different. It felt almost, it wasn't authentic Freddy for me. Just the way he was talking. I mean, there's a couple good lines in there, but overall, it just didn't feel like the movies that I grew up with. Because I'd only probably seen The Dream Master once when I was a kid, and I rewatched it last night because I just wanted to just to see, because it's been so long. But yeah, I was disappointed, just disappointed. And you're right, the writers. It would be nice if they could keep the same writers on with each movie,
Hmm.
but that's the thing that sucks about Hollywood, right? With everything that's going on, is with the strike and everything. Writing is one of the biggest components to, especially in a franchise, to make it successful, right? Like, was Scream has Scream always been Wes? Like, I mean, like the first,
One through
how
four
many did?
was. 1 through 4
Okay,
was, and then obviously Wes is gone now. So, but Kevin Williamson, the writer of the first one, has been part of it for most, except for 3, I think, which is why 3 was not a lot of people's favorite. But it grew on me. 4 wasn't my favorite for the longest time, but now it grew on me too. I'm like, I freaking love them all. But yeah,
but it felt like it belonged, right? Like that was
yeah,
the thing with those movies. I think that's why the Scream movies held on, is because of the writing, the characters. They seemed like them. They matched. It wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna even change an actor. We're gonna take an actor and put in a different actor, and and we'll
right.
see.
Oh God, could you imagine if they took Nev and freaking switched her? Oh my God.
Or Dewey.
Oh
Although if
gosh.
they switched Dewey, like, would you care? Like, I don't
I
know.
don't know. I grew to love
I would
Dewey. I
care.
love Dewey.
He carries, and that's okay. The same thing can be said about actors, as can be said about the writers. The actors and the writers put a piece of themselves into whatever they're creating. So the actor is putting a piece of himself, herself, themselves into their character, which is why Dewey, anybody else goes into it and it may feel like just a dumbass. There's something endearing about Dewey that David puts into it.
Yes.
And the same with writing. That's why writers can't just be interchangeable and like, oh, you take part two and I'll take three, because they're putting a piece of their experience and their energy and tone into what they're writing into each and every character and scene. So it does feel different when it's like totally different person. Even if they're like, I grew up on this, I researched it, I know it, I love it, I breathe it. It's like, but it still isn't coming from inside your world. And so there is a difference. Some people can get close, but it's just still not the same.
it's
So,
a it's a different perspective that you can't replicate when it comes down to the nitty gritty of just the,
mhm.
the deep things that are happening, the deaths, the impact of everything that happens. It's from a different perspective, and so it's going to feel different. And not just that, it's the writers and the directors, right? Both.
Yep.
And sometimes a change in director helps. Sometimes,
Yes. Sometimes it does.
Right.
Yes. So
but
tell us about your podcast,
okay.
Tales from the
Tales from the
Drive-in?
Drive-Ins. Tales from the Drive-Ins. So yeah,
That sounds like it could go either way, scary or naughty. So tell us about the drive-in.
so we're 4 episodes in. What I love about it so far is all of the episodes have been horror based. First episode is with my brother. Second episode is with a filmmaker that I went to film school with. He did a slasher film recently based in the 80s, which is pretty fun. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The last two, let's see, one, two. What, well, Ashley is
I was gonna say
episode 3. I was
Ashley
like,
was
who's
number
my third?
3.
So yeah, and yeah, she was great. We talked dreams and vampires mostly, but we covered a little bit of everything because we both lucid dream and all of that. So that was a lot of fun. And then this last episode, we I talked to a guy who is putting on the Colorado Festival of Horror coming up in September, and we just talked about his art because he does a lot of sculptures and paintings and all that kind of stuff. But he also does some film related things, and the thing that I'm finding, and I'm loving this about the podcast world, is that you meet a lot of cool people who are creatives, right, in many different ways. And I think that's my biggest thing is, one, obviously to talk horror and all the paranormal and all that kind of stuff, and you hear their stories and their perspective. But I just love being able to meet so many new creative people in whatever their discipline is, whether it be painting, filmmaking, sculptures, whatever, right? So I think that's really fun.
How often do you release your podcast?
I'm trying to do one every couple weeks. I just moved myself too, so it's kind of hard to do a lot of podcasts, every week. But you guys have great content, by the way. I gotta say, like,
We
the
try.
humor is great. It's awesome all the time.
Thank you. We definitely do try. So where can people find more about your podcast?
So talesfromthedrivein.com, hyphen between drive and in. You can find us all on YouTube, same thing, and all the places you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify or Apple Podcasts and all that.
Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I'm just excited for your guys' season 4, to be honest. I know you guys. So the big thing that you guys have are that I love is the diversity of your show. You guys have so many different kinds of guests, and I'm here for it. Like, it's not always the same. It's psychics. It's dream people. It's horror people. It's whatever. It's anything and everything. And yeah, I think that's part of the fun, where you go in and you're just like, oh, what is this going to be about? I mean, obviously you have your intro and everything to tell you what it is, but when you actually sit down and listen to the people, you just love their perspective, and that's great. I'm just excited for you guys.
Thank you. That was so very nice of you.
Yes, thank you. Making me blush.
I know, right? And I just want to say I'm very grateful for you always being so supportive and encouraging. You've been listening for a while now, and you always give great feedback. And you're just, not only are you an amazing friend, but you're also a fantastic guest. So I really appreciate you coming on to talk about horror with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, anytime. I know I go off on random tangents. I do have ADD, so it's really hard for me to just stick on one thing, because I'm like, ooh, there's another one. Ooh, there's another one. Ooh, this is fun. Let's talk about
It
this.
goes well with us, so it's all right.
I don't have ADD that I'm aware of, and I go on all the tangents too. So you fit right in.
Yes.
Nice.
All right, Jonathan, you want to bring us
I
home?
do, but first, I will say, BJ, I started listening to your podcast today. I went, from episode 1, skipped obviously to go to 3 first because Ashley was on there. I had to listen to Ashley, and then I just finished episode 2, and I
Nice.
absolutely enjoy it. So, people out there, go and check it out, please. He's amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
He's a phenomenal host, great personality, and absolutely support, support, support this amazing person, BJ
Yes,
Segura.
and the voice. I mean, come on,
Come
the
on.
voice is so good. I like it.
Thank you. It's the microphone, but thank you.
All right, and thank you for everybody for tuning into this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas, I think.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And if you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 300podcast at gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss any amazing guests like BJ.
And don't forget to check out our website, 3hauntedpodcast.com, where we have amazing merch available.
Yes.
Until next time.